So, you thought you knew all about Harry Potter, right? Well, you might be surprised to hear that actually there could be more lurking under the surface of the wizarding world than appeared at first glance. Was Crookshanks in reality more than Hermione's pet cat? Was there another reason the Dursleys were so nasty to Harry, and did Ginny resort to underhand means to capture the affections of the wizarding wonder? Find out that and more in the top 10 Harry Potter conspiracies. We're going to kick off our top 10 by taking a look into Crookshanks. Now on first glance, he's just Hermione's pet cat, but look a little deeper and you might find some disturbing coincidences about Hermione's feline friend. Now when Hermione first got the cat from the magical menagerie in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, we found out that he'd been there for a long time and that, quote, nobody wanted him. So who owned the cat before? Could it be that another magical family had the cat before Hermione? In the letter from Lily to Sirius that Harry found at 12 Grimmauld Place, Lily thanked Sirius for the broom he sent Harry as a birthday present and told him that it nearly killed the cat. Oh, so the Potters had a cat. So if Crookshanks was actually the Potter's cat, what happened to him after Voldemort came to the house and killed Harry's parents? Could it be that he escaped and somehow ended up at the magical menagerie? There's a constant argument between Hermione and Ron about Crookshanks attacking Ron's pet rat, Scabbers. Is it that as part Kneazle, Crookshanks could tell that Scabbers was really not just a rat, but he recognised that it was Peter Pettigrew in disguise, the very same man who was a member of the original Order of the Phoenix, but then turned spy for Lord Voldemort? Maybe Crookshanks tried to kill Scabbers in revenge for what he did to his previous owners. We'll let you decide on that one. So it's pretty obvious that Neville is not much of a wizard, and whilst he is the main man at growing the herbs, he is never going to set the world on fire with his wand action. Could it be that he had a bit of squib in him? He spent the first few weeks at Hogwarts losing his toad, falling off his broomstick and melting cauldrons. His magical inability is even highlighted by Professor Snape, who says Longbottom has difficulty with even the simplest of spells. But how could the son of two famous auras be so useless? The answer could be that perhaps it wasn't him that was useless, it was just that the wand he had wasn't right for him. When Neville's parents were taken to St Mungo's, Neville adopted his father's wand, and it didn't really seem to work out for him. Remember, Ollivander always said the wand chooses the wizard, not the other way round. After the Death Eater Dolohov breaks Neville's wand and his nose in the battle at the Department of Mysteries, Neville finally gets to choose his own wand, and after that, seems to find his magical feet. With his chosen one status, Harry Potter was not short of admirers. Romilda Vane was infatuated with him, Parvati Patel enjoyed being in the limelight at his date to the Yule Ball, and he even shared a kiss with Cedric's girl Cho Chang, but nobody was as smitten with him as Ginny Weasley. This girl was seriously potty for Potter since the moment they met. She even confessed herself that she liked him so much she couldn't speak in his presence. But Harry was, well, not impressed. Instead, Harry was crazy for Cho Chang. But sometime during the Half-Blood Prince, this all changed. The Weasley twins sold a range of love potions in their shop in Diagon Alley, so love potions would have been easily accessible to the lovesick Ginny. And who should be staying at the Burrow again over Christmas holidays? It's a bit of a coincidence that Ginny feeds Harry a mince pie whilst uttering the words, "Don't you trust me?" and that soon after that Harry is wild with jealousy over her relationship with Dean Thomas. Anyone else wonder if that mince pie was laced with love? Anyone thinking Draco looks more and more washed out as the films progress? Well, maybe that's nothing to do with the lighting or him falling out with the makeup artist. Perhaps it's because Draco is actually a werewolf. Fenrir Greyback is the vicious werewolf that happens to work for Lord Voldemort, and his job is to bite the offspring of Death Eaters that have failed him as punishment. Now, which Death Eater constantly messes up in his services to he who must not be named? Wasn't it Lucius Malfoy that gave Ginny Tom Riddle's diary, resulting in the first of Lord Voldemort's Horcruxes being destroyed? Yeah, allowing your boss's soul to be stabbed might not be the best tactic for promotion. Oh, and then it was Lucius that failed to retrieve the Ministry's copy of the prophecy. What if the Dark Lord decided that the Malfoys needed to be taught a lesson, and what better way than to turn their only son into a werewolf? Draco himself practically admits that he has werewolf connections when he tells Borgin that Fenrir is a close personal friend. Who has werewolves as friends? Other werewolves? Don't forget that when he hears that Lupin is about to have a baby, Voldemort tells Draco that he can babysit the cubs. Why would Draco babysit them? Is it because Draco is already a werewolf, and if a cub bit him it wouldn't matter? So, defence against the dark arts. Sounds like a pretty cool subject to teach? Well, perhaps not if you're looking for a long-term position. Try as they might, it just seems impossible to get a teacher to stay in the job, and Dumbledore himself tells us that they cannot seem to get a teacher to last longer than a year, since he refused the job to Voldemort. Had Voldemort cursed the job? In the books, we go through a number of different professors. Professor Quirrell, who dies when Harry touches him. Of course, it's because he is body sharing with Voldemort, and he who cannot be named could not be touched by Harry because of Lily's sacrifice. So Voldemort then discards Quirrell's body, leaving him to die. Professor Lockhart, who loses his mind, courtesy of trying a memory charm with Ron's backfiring wand. This little misdemeanour earns him a permanent bed in St Mungo's Hospital for magical maladies and injuries. Professor Lupin resigns from the job before word spreads that he is a werewolf, and then later he dies at the Battle of Hogwarts. Professor Moody is locked in his trunk by Barty Crouch Jr., who then pretended to be Moody, gets found out and dies by way of receiving the Dementor's kiss. Moody, on the other hand, resigns, and then dies in the Battle of the Seven Potters. Professor Umbridge gets swept off her feet literally when she gets carried away by a centaur and finally ends up in Azkaban for her crimes against Muggle-borns. Professor Snape, yeah, we all know he dies. Snape and the snake, enough said. Professor Carrow, like Umbridge, was imprisoned in Azkaban. Perhaps they should have advertised the job as a one-year contract. So the Dursleys are portrayed in Harry Potter as these nasty, twisted people who treat Harry like a servant and seem to want nothing to do with him, to the extent that he gets locked out of sight in the cupboard under the stairs. If they went to the length of having to store their vacuum cleaner elsewhere in the house, they must really have hated him, right? So was it just that they were inconvenienced by him being dumped outside their door all those years before? Was it that they resented having to look after Lily's son after the shame they felt at her being a witch? Or was it something deeper? Now, we don't know a lot about the backstory of the Dursleys, but we do know they had their own son, who they adored, and on the surface of it, they don't look like complete psychopaths. Well, if it wasn't them, then was it something about Harry? What if Harry was actually a Horcrux that Voldemort accidentally created when trying to kill him and his parents at Godric's Hollow? We know that Harry and Voldemort have a special connection, and that often Harry can see into Voldemort's mind. So maybe the killing spell didn't just simply bounce off Harry. We also know in the books that Horcruxes can affect those around them and those who have them in their care. Whilst Tom Riddle's diary did not seem to affect Harry, just look at how it possessed Ginny Weasley in the Chamber of Secrets, or how the Locket of Slytherin caused constant rows between the heroic trio in Deathly Hallows Part 1, resulting in Ron abandoning the girl he loved most in the world. Being responsible for Harry may have meant that the Dursleys were affected by Horcrux Potter, so can we really blame them? We need to remember that they did take him in that fateful night. Surely, if they were all bad, they wouldn't have done that. Perhaps they started off with the best intentions, but just went a little crazy as time went on. And let's not forget that Harry never really seemed to do well with the girls at school, even though he was supposed to be the famous chosen one. Take my advice, if you're looking for love, don't become a Horcrux. There is no one cooler in the wizarding world than Sirius Black, and what could be cooler than having Sirius Black as your godfather, having him as your godfather and a relative? Check out the Black family tree on the wall in 12 Grimmauld Place and you will spot a familiar surname, Potter. Yes, Doria Black, Sirius's great aunt, married Charles Potter. Now Potter might be a popular surname, but in the wizarding world there only seems to be one family we know of with that name. We also know James Potter came from a pureblood wizarding line, and as Doria's name was not scrubbed out from the family tree, we can assume that Charles Potter was a pureblood. It's not too far-fetched to believe that Charles Potter is from that same pure bloodline as James. It's been revealed that James's father was one Fleamont Potter, and he was born around the same time as Charles Potter. Could they have been brothers? If that's the case, then Harry Potter's great-uncle is married to Sirius's great-aunt. That's what makes what happened to Sirius even more devastating for Harry. I'm not crying. You're crying. Right, we know that the hairy gamekeeper can do some simple spells. Here, have a pig's tail. Classic. But what if Hagrid is actually a seriously powerful wizard? Hagrid was banned from using magic years ago, and had his wand snapped in two, but we never find out how much of a magical boss he is. The assumption is that as a modest gamekeeper, he isn't that powerful. But do you really think that Dumbledore would entrust the safety of Harry Potter to a motorbike courier? It was Hagrid that rode baby Harry to Privet Drive, Hagrid that escorted Harry to Diagon Alley, and Hagrid that accompanied Harry on the dangerous journey in the Battle of the Seven Potters. Would Wonder Boy be entrusted to someone that didn't have any magical oomph behind them? And as Dumbledore said himself, he would trust Hagrid with his life. Hagrid was a member of the original Order of the Phoenix and the New Order. If he didn't have some seriously heavy-duty magic ability, what was he doing there? Making the tea? Our number 2 is the boy who lived, or should it be the boy who cannot die? Poor lad, he has been through 7 books worth of being attacked by the baddest wizards ever, and I'm not talking about any old wizards, I mean Death Eaters, those who years before even Albus Dumbledore's Order of the Phoenix could not defeat. Yet, somehow, despite their best efforts to kill him, he manages to stay alive. So what made Harry Potter survive? His inner cunning, Hermione's overactive eyebrows? Or is it, try as they might, they just can't kill him because he cannot be killed? The guy is immortal. We're pretty much told that in the famous prophecy in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, where we hear Sybil Trelawney say of Harry and Lord Voldemort, either must die at the hand of the other. If you read that to mean that Harry can only be killed by Voldemort, then when Harry kills him, surely there's no one left that can kill Harry. And just think, Harry at one point has the Resurrection Stone and he drops it. Why is that? Didn't think you'd need it? And later, he has the most powerful wand and snaps it before throwing it off the bridge. Seriously, you had all the Deathly Hallows and you just chucked 2 of them away? Really? Just think how much they would have been worth, you idiot. And at number 1 in the top 10 Harry Potter conspiracies is that it was never about Harry at all. Okay, so Harry spent his time at Hogwarts walking around with an "it's all about me" attitude and generally collapsing to the ground whenever anyone else was centre of attention. But what if Harry Potter wasn't the chosen one? Divination Professor Sybil Trelawney made a prophecy. Fair enough, she made it in the pub, so make of it what you will. But back in the early part of 1980, she prophesied that the one with power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches, born to those who have thrice defied him, born as the 7-month dies. Voldemort instantly assumed it meant Harry and went about waving his wand at the Potters, but there was another boy born at the end of July whose parents had also 3 times escaped Lord Voldemort. That boy was Neville Longbottom. Dumbledore even admitted to Harry in the Order of the Phoenix that the prophecy could apply to Neville. What if it did actually mean Neville, and Dumbledore was using Harry as a smokescreen to distract Voldemort away from the true chosen one? We all know that Dumbledore wasn't always honest. It was Neville that led the secret rebellion against Hogwarts Death Eater professors in the Deathly Hallows, and it was Neville who gave the crowd-rousing speech against Lord Voldemort whilst Harry was busy playing dead. And it was Neville that defeated the werewolf Fenrir Greyback, and it was Neville that was given the Sword of Gryffindor, which he then used to chop off Nagini's head, making Voldemort mortal again. It was Neville that did all the hard work while Harry lined himself up and took the glory shot by killing Lord V. So Neville pretty much did everything. Sounds like the chosen one to me, but we have to ask ourselves, would as many books have been sold or cinema tickets been bought if it were called Neville Longbottom and the Philosopher's Stone? I'll leave you to decide on that one.